What's up, YouTube? We are going to go through Microsoft ticker symbol MSFT over the course of 1 year, year to date, 34.8% up, 1 year, 15.83% up. So we're going to jump over to the valuations immediately, and then we'll go into some of the catalysts going forward on Microsoft. So over here, got our ticker entered in MSFT. Microsoft's return on invested capital is 26.4%, and anything above 15% is fantastic. Dividend yield 0.84%, and come down here. Analysts have this EPS growth rate of average of 14.28% for the next 3 years. Revenues 13.08%, and we get a pure lunch fair value of $138 per share. We have multiple comparisons. We've got 6 different companies to compare to, and gives us a 441 or $444 fair market value based on comps. Manual P, we have a $2.4 billion market cap. Cash and cash equivalents is $111 billion, $205 billion of debt, and cash from operations of $87 billion annually. Gives us a multiple 29, basically 28.5 years to equal its current market cap. So a little richly valued based on its balance sheet, really. Price to book ratio gives us 11.64, and the 5 year average is about 12. So fairly valued based on its 5 year average. Peg ratio 2.55, low rich today. Forward looking peg getting close to fairly valued. Graham's valuation, current corporate bonds is 5.1 right now. Intrinsic value gives us $190 per share. DCF, discounted cash flow, weighted average cost of capital. Type in all of our numbers here. These are quarter over quarter, these are quarterly numbers. Market cap, geez, $2.4 trillion. Weighted average cost of capital, 7.97. Perpetual growth rate, 2.5. And growth rate of free cash flow I put in for 11%, and we'll come down and see why I did that one. So free cash flow of the past 6 years averages out to be 13.6%. Analyst growth rate is predicted at 11%. So I'm going to use the lower of the two growth rates to get to estimate our future free cash flows. Future free cash flows auto populates, 11% growth rate. Put in our cash and marketable securities here, and it gives us a discounted cash flow per share of $204 per share. Last but not least, we have Rule 72. Current EPS 968. Lowest EPS growth rate was 14.28. 14.28 comes over to here. 14.28 goes into 72 5 times. 5 goes into 10 years. And then in 10 years, the EPS will double over 2 times. So 9.8 rounded up to 10, basically. Call it, 20, and then it's going to double again to 40. So in this case, 38.7. I rounded up to 39. Gives us a fair value of $278 per share and $194 with 30% margin of safety. Over here, we have our summary. Average price, $252 per share with a 30% margin of safety of $177 per share. All right, let's come over to stock chart. Currently trading $322 per share from, early 2023. It's just kind of retraced back up to all-time highs, broke all-time highs, made a little bit of a higher high, and really your pullback range, I mean, it's really, I guess, 285-ish, 290 range here, is where I see potential support if it pulls back to here. I think is a good price based on technicals. It'd be great if it pulls back down to like 264. That would pull us back into our fair market value range, and I think that would continue this uptrend here, pull back to here, and then continue higher. However, I don't think it's going to happen because of the future catalyst of Microsoft. I think Microsoft is going to sit here for a little bit and just it's going to continue higher um, because I believe they're going to add about $30 billion of revenue to their um, balance sheet, their top line, their revenues. So they're coming out with this thing called CoPilot, and it's an attachment to its 365 platform. And you can see right here, Copilot. You click on that, and you can type in, for this one, it's for Word, and you can type in, have it to add, do different things, right? And then same thing with Excel. You can have it analyze certain criteria, and it'll give you, trends and stuff like that. It's I this I think is super useful to see that. I mean that's going to be huge, I believe, for many companies, I bet. And then you got PowerPoint where you just type in make a presentation of XYZ and then boom, PowerPoint. Like crazy, I mean there's so much time saved, so much, you know, same thing with Outlook and emails and Teams. Like you just type in to have AI just do everything for you, and it saves you so much time in a day. I think it's very valuable for $30 a month, $1 a day. I mean, I think that's yeah, absolutely worth it with what it can do. If it saves you an hour a day, I think that is, that's more than 30 bucks. Um, so I was questioning that. Okay, so how many current users are there of 365? And I couldn't find it like on their balance sheet. I was spent a good hour trying to figure out, okay, how many, because this is the only source I could find that had the actual, paid seats count. And I was like, I don't know. So this is what I could find, with an hour's worth of work anyway. So 345 million people. Well, seats, really, not just people. And so we take 345 million and you're going to add a potential additional subscription of $30 per person, which equates up to be just a little over $10 billion per month or $30 billion per quarter. So we're going to come over to their financial statement here, their quarterly one, their most recent quarter. And the only number they had for subscribers was for consumers. They did not have a subscriber count for commercial. So I would have to believe that there's way more commercial users than subscriber users anyway, or commercial than residential consumer subscribers anyway. So I did some real quick math, at $18.3 billion dollars right here. So business $18.3 billion is what the company does quarter over quarter. So divide that by 3 months. So $6.1 billion per month. So I'd say an average of $15 per user. That seemed to be based on monthly subscription costs around mid-range. Um, so per user gives us 407 or basically 407 million users. We know for sure there's 670 million consumers, which means there's about 340 million users for business. That's real quick numbers, guesstimating. Obviously, maybe there's some more numbers that I'm missing, but that's what I'm looking at and what I think. But the other guy said 345, so let's go with 345 total users. Let's not go with anything more than that. Anyway, so we're gonna go with 345 for future numbers here. Um, and also if you guys can find it, drop the link down below. I'd like to redo this if needed, if that is incorrect or if it's maybe more or less. If it's more, then I'm less worried about it. But if it's less, I'd rather fix that so that way it is correct, or closer to correct anyway. But overall, total revenue that this company puts out every quarter roughly is $56 billion. So can you imagine adding like what would that be? 53% increase, $30 billion more to the revenues as a top line. That's gonna be that's huge on a $2.4 trillion company. It's gonna exceed Apple. Um, gross margin, 70% gross margin. It was 68% last year, so their gross margin is growing. Net revs, 35.7%, their net revenues, and that's up from 32.2% last year. So right here I got some notes in for the CoPilot. So $30 billion estimated for CoPilot revenues is a 53% increase quarter over quarter. So, let's say 40% goes down to the bottom line and, cost of running the software, AI, I'm sure it's not cheap to run. Um, so that would be a 60% increase to net income. And the future EPS could be $4.28 per share quarter over quarter, 17.14 annually. So forward PE based on current trading levels and assuming a 40% net margin on Copilot would give us around an 18.78 forward PE. With a growth rate of 13%, forward growth rate on would be give us a forward peg of 1.44. So for Microsoft, that's very cheap. 1.44, that's very cheap. So I don't know, that's my excitement for Microsoft is this Copilot that um, they are releasing. I don't think it's out yet. I believe it's going to be beginning of next year that they will release this. And that's probably when middle of next year is when you're going to start to see revenue start piling in on Microsoft with this Copilot release. I think I think anybody with, just looks at it and says like, wow, if I'm gonna try it, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna see what it can do for me. I think that's a fantastic tool to have to save you so much time in a day. Just to type in a quick sentence and say enter. That kind of sums it up for Microsoft. So some of the good takeaways of Microsoft is their return on invested capital is 26%. The future of Microsoft Copilot could add $30 billion to quarterly revenues. Currently slightly undervalued thanks to, the current pullback in the market. Net revs and gross margin both increased. Growing balance sheet, even while buying back shares. They bought $5.7 billion worth of shares last quarter. The future growth of Microsoft is very attractive, especially with that Copilot release coming up. And again, the only negative I could really find, it's not even that big of a negative, is their free cash flows appear to be growing again, but year over year they're down slightly, but not by much. It was like $1 billion of dec decrease in their cash flows, which you can see right here, 9% year over year. So not nothing to be concerned about, especially since they have a very good track record of growing cash flows. But that's my take on Microsoft. Let me know down below what you guys think of Microsoft, what price you're looking at buying Microsoft, and what you think of Copilot too. Um, I'm curious to know what other people had to say about it. But if you guys would like and subscribe, and we will be back tomorrow with another valuation video.